Well, hello everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm very, very grateful for the cool weather here in Seattle. And I hope people are enjoying similar similar respite from the heat. Daryl, how is it up in British Columbia?
It's beautiful out here right now.
Oh, fantastic. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. All right. I think Rao is back from getting a glass of water. Rao, are you ready to kick off the technical update?
Yes, I am. Let me just share the document here. Okay, so we have a lot of exciting news. The exciting thing is that we are close to getting the hard fork 1 this weekend. Right now, what we have in terms of the status of the networks and releases, we have 0.11.0 release running on the mainnet. This is a change from last week. And this release basically includes much of the block merge code changes that do not require a hard fork. So that code is running on the mainnet now, but it is currently, in terms of functionality, it doesn't do much different than much of the block merge is disabled at the moment. But then the full functionality will be available once we get to hard fork 2, which is the block merge hard fork 2. But we wanted to get the code base on the mainnet to make sure that any interactions and all that we understand, whether they be performance or other related. So that's on the mainnet now. In addition, there is a hard fork 1 release candidate, and we're labeling it 0.12.0 RC1 or 0.12.0 RC1. And that is running on the hard fork 1 testnet at the moment. And we have tested Genesis with it a couple of times, and it seems to be trouble-free. This is the version that will be used to complete the conversion of the mainnet this weekend to hard fork 1. Once this hard fork is done, the next event in the life of the mainnet is going to be that the current epoch ends at end of July. And we're going to be basically increasing the bonds max limit so that that epoch change, really, there will not be any changes, and it will just roll over smoothly. So that's coming up. If I don't know if Ian is going to be speaking more to this later, but I will just say that if anybody wants to stake additional REV or withdraw any REV from staking, you have to send an email to staking@rchain.coop. If you don't do anything, the default is that you will be rolled over to the next period. And of course, if you're in a contract that requires you to stake for a certain period of time and you're still within that period of time, then you're not eligible to withdraw. So that continues as normal. After we're done with this hard fork 1 this weekend, there'll be 2 more hard forks, one for the block merge. As we had said many times in the past, there are certain changes that need to be done in the data structures or code base that require a hard fork for block merge. And then there will be another hard fork, what we're calling hard fork 3 or the POS hard fork. That would be for doing POS changes that are necessary. So those are the events coming up. So next couple of months, next 2 to 3 months or thereabouts is going to be quite exciting. And that is reflected in the release numbers. As you can see, each of these is a substantially new release. that may not be compatible with the previous version. That's why the release numbers are now going from 11 to 12 to 13. And the POS hard fork would be either 14, or it may actually be called rnode 1 dot. We have not decided on that yet. The conversation there is to say, okay, what we're doing in the POS update is to really enable full decentralization of the node. That's hard fork 3. And there may be a gap between the time we actually do the hard fork 3 and the full decentralization, just to make sure that we have the hardening pieces done and any additional testing done once we have it out there. So depending on that, we will be naming that as either 14 or 1 dot at that point in time. So that would be a fully decentralized Mercury node. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now I want to dive into the hard fork 1, which is the big event coming this weekend. So like I said, we have the release candidate for that already. I encourage the community to test that using the processes we described in the last tech governance process. And if you look at items 6 and 7 here, you can see the balances and the file and I'm sorry, items 5, 6, and 7. Item 5 has the process that you can follow, that we followed, and you can follow that to audit the process and or run the Genesis and satisfy yourself that everything that is working as intended. And you can also refer to the video from the tech governance last week if need be. In terms of where we are with the communications, we produced the balances, we communicated the balances to the community, and thank you, Ian, for helping with that. And there are a bunch of, I guess, emails that Ian has been responding to, not because there is any changes in the balances, but more about, people just kind of waking up to the fact that they have some rev and what this means in many cases. And in some cases, the question about the 10 power 8 zeros, that the additional zeros we have in the balance report versus, because it is in revlets, versus the rev that they remember that they had. So what we have, that first round of communication is complete. We have gotten some emails, we're responding to them individually, but we will probably do another round of communication, just adding or resolving, identifying most commonly asked questions, and then just putting answers to them. So that will be going out, so that people have that. And this is just as a reminder or courtesy for people that have not gotten through checking their balances, to give them one more opportunity. We have also completed the communications with the exchanges, and we will be doing one more round of communications with them. But the schedule looks like this at this point in time. 6 a.m. Friday, US Eastern time, the network is going to be shut down, and that's about 6 p.m. In China, and we believe the block height will be approximately 908,300 at that point in time. We will be publishing the new balances report at that time, at the time of network shutdown, and then we will have a 24-hour quiet period during which basically folks can review, especially the team members, but also any other members or rev holders can review their balances at that point in time. And then that balance at that time will be used to form the genesis for the new network, which will then be going. So if we shut down around 6 a.m. Eastern on July 16th, sometime on July 17th, we will be bringing back the new network. We are giving ourselves a little bit of time there to validate the new network, run some sample transactions, run some balances again, and things like that. So with all of that, at the end of the weekend, the new network would be up and available to everybody to continue as normal. So that's the overall Hard Fork 1 events in the near future, a little bit more communication, and then the actual event itself of cutover of the network. And I already spoke to how you can verify the balances and audit the overall process itself. Maybe I should stop here and ask if there are any questions or concerns about Hard Fork 1 before I go on with the rest of it. Are there any? Okay, moving on. We have actually gotten quite a bit of work done in the hardware-based performance improvements arena with the working with our hardware partner. And what the experiments and the performance validation work that was done both by them, by the hardware vendor and us, has revealed is that the initially scoped 300x performance, we may be able to get with some software optimizations on our end. So we're going to pursue those over the next several weeks. And the joint, the collaborative work essentially pointed out where we can optimize and how and all that. There is still one question outstanding there that we will try to validate with them. So the conclusion now at this point is that by and large, we can get a large part of that 300x, if not all of it, with what we can do with the software improvements. So the idea is to first get that done. And it is not entirely clear, at least from their standpoint, and then we do have one question we wanted to validate to see if there is a particular way that hardware can be used to further improve from that. But we will do that as a back burner item for now. What then remains in the hardware improvements, hardware-based performance improvement area is to explore the additional hardware options that are available. For example, now there are key value optimized SSDs available both from Samsung and others. And it is now actually part of the industry specification for disks that there is a key value optimized version. Because if we can get high performance on the software side, like I just described in the item 1, then the next optimization would be this whole disk IO area. What can we do there? And that's where this key value optimized storage comes into play. And we're going to be exploring that as we make progress through this part of the work. So that's where we are on the hardware-based improvements. Coming back to the code base itself, Hard Fork 2 is going to be the block merge hard fork, and quite a bit of work is completed there. And we will probably be having a version in the next couple of days for testing in the DevNet. This with the hard fork changes, in particular the channels map removal is complete. And here I can share with you the tasks. That's Hard Fork 1. Let me switch to projects here. So this is the view of where things are with different tasks. Quite a few of them are in review at this point in time. And then there are a few that are still being worked on in this Hard Fork 2 project. There is a part of the Hard Fork project that's not visible to the public, and that's in the secure area. So there is also more work there. More items there. As you can see, these are the hard fork 2 related items. And then these are related to hard fork 3. How we're thinking about it from scoping is that hard fork 2 will cover all the items that are necessary for block merge and all the additional simple configuration changes or other changes that do not require too much work. This way, basically, it'll give us flexibility when we get to this after the block merge. For example, there are configuration things around the epoch length and what we're doing with quarantine. Those should be relatively small changes. We'll probably get them in the block merge version, even though they're not quite related to block merge, because that gives us flexibility in terms of the other things we need to do after that. But the main core proof of stake contract changes and the soft fork process, all of that will come in block merge, in hard fork 3. So that's where we are. One of the items that is a blocker for the block merge hard fork, and we're working on this right now, is the, in addition to the per validator vault that we have now, having only the per validator vault and not a level below that at the deploy level, what it is doing is it is causing or increasing the number of conflicts that we see in the block merge. So the idea is to supplement the per validator vault with either a per deploy vault or PERSys. And the design is in final stages for that. What we will be doing is doing some prototyping to see what kind of design would solve the problems while also give us good performance. So that will be going on over the next several days. And that's one of the things, for example, that needs to be resolved for the block merge hard fork. However, the testing for the rest of the block merge code that is there will continue by putting a workaround for this in the near term. So those are the kinds of things that we're working with on the block merge hard fork. And then hard fork 3, which is the proof of stake changes, the design document for soft fork process is ready for review. And there is some proof of concept code also for that. And we will be reviewing that in the tech governance meeting either tomorrow or, not tomorrow, but this Friday or next Friday. So that's what is going on, the hard fork 3. And then there'll be more progress on that going forward. So that's, as you can see, it's a lot of work, a lot of wonderful work that the team has been doing. And I want to shout out to the team. Thanks for all the hard work. And we are making really good progress. I mean, a lot of exciting stuff over the next several weeks to a few months, couple of months. That's the tech update. Any questions, comments, concerns?
So I'll just amplify your points, Ro, that with respect to the per validate or per deploy PERSys. So hold on one second. The issue is that at what we don't have at the level of Erlang currently is a total view of the deployments per block, which makes it difficult to collect all the PERSys at the time that we need to do the rollup. And so what is unequivocal in the design is that we employ a simple methodology where you walk up the context. So there's an evaluate inside every piece of code. There's an outer evaluation context, which is awaiting the result of that evaluation. And in this case, if you go up past the rolling any given deployment, what you find is the block. So what we're doing is to make available in Rolang the information from the environment that's contained in the block that says how many total deploys there are. So that part is decided because what that does is it allows us to then at the time where we need to roll up all the purses, we have all the information necessary to roll up all the purses. The question that remains has to do with meeting additional requirements. So in particular, one approach is to expose the purse outside of the wrapper of the Rev Vault as a basic building block that's available to other developers, and that has some other knock-on advantages. So, but what we want to do is to make sure that that doesn't create any security leaks. So that's essentially the question that we want to resolve at this point. And once we have resolved that question to our satisfaction, then we can go ahead and complete the remainder of the implementation. Hopefully that was a little, that was at least somewhat clear. Any other questions about that or for Rao? Okay. I think Ian and Rao both wanted to make sure that there's a loud and clear description of what's happening with the hard fork. Ian, Rao, did you want to add anything with respect to what the co-op members or Rev holders need to be doing with respect to hard fork 1?
Well, for checking your Rev balance, I mean, it's really as easy as visiting the Rev Block Explorer at revdefine.io and plugging in either your Ethereum ROC address or your Rev address and checking the balance there. Also, the email that went out, as well as the blog post, give a link to the snapshot, where you can also just simply search for that Rev address and see that the numbers match what you see on RevDefine, as well as match what your expectation is. The communications that I've been seeing lately have really all had to do with either some confusion about the snapshot not showing any decimal points. So really, you have to, because just like ROC, the Rev has 8 decimals, you have to add in that decimal point yourself. So basically divide by 100,000 to see the actual balance. And also people who just hadn't yet looked to see what their Rev address was, like maybe they had purchased ROC back before the genesis of RChain, and hadn't gone in and checked to see what the equivalent Rev address was. ROC is an ERC20 Ethereum token, and the public and private key that ROC address is based on is also used to create the Rev address. So your keys remain the same. If you have an old ROC address, you should be able to plug it into RevDefine or into any RChain wallet, and it will tell you what your balance is, as well as what the Rev address is, and your private key, like your password to get into your tokens, that will not have changed. So you still have access to your tokens.
It is 100 millions and not 100,000.
Ah, okay. Right. 1 with 8 zeros, right?
Yep.
Any other questions or comments about the hard fork? Okay, very good. Daryl, are you ready for the week in review?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Here's the week in review for Thursday, July 8th to today, July 14th. On Thursday at the Governance Committee, we continued to discuss the issue around ROC on DEXs, IDEX and Ether Delta, discussion around having them grouped or separate. We also had a discussion on monetary policy, and Jim announced that he heard back from Daniel Schmachtenberger. On Friday at the Climate Coordination RCast, we discussed rewilding, proforestation, Charles Eisenstein's sacred economics, cultural melting pots versus cultural mosaics, decentralized governance, polycentric stewardship, and how nature is always working at the edge of centralization and decentralization. On Monday at the Casper Stand-Up, this week's Casper Stand-Up discussed the issues associated with per deploy validator purses and the Rolang methodology for solving this problem. In the communications working group yesterday, Steve Henley gave an update on his work with Government Blockchain Association and the contacts he's made there and elsewhere. Nora spoke of the work she's doing on a definitive climate statement for RChain.coop/climate. We also discussed PR in the US. Jim's points from the last week about helping devs and dApps have an easier time learning Rolang and building on RChain, and getting the word out on communicating the upcoming hard fork. And then this morning, Jim gave a little Rolang lesson that demonstrated the Tower of Hanoi mathematical disc game. And Raphael demonstrated a new DAPI feature that allows someone to create an NFT as a subscription that can expire at a predetermined time unless renewed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and that brings us to now.
Very good. Any questions for Daryl? All right. There are some interesting developments related to the POC we are doing with the Eve Arnold Foundation, which we will be discussing in the closed door session on Friday. If you have any opinions about that, Friday would be your time to engage and give the co-op your best wisdom. Apart from that, we don't have any further updates. Are there any questions or comments from the community? Okay, thank you so much. Please stay safe, stay cool, and see you on the other side.